This is John from Global Traveler. Today I'm talking travel with travel expert, weather expert, and I love this part, traveling weather chick, Jennifer Broome. How are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
I am great. I got to ask you about a lot of this. Let me start off with, I love the part, traveling weather chick. What exactly does that mean?
Well, my professional career, I for the majority of it, I was a television meteorologist full time. So there's the weather chick part of it, and then I realized I was working to travel, so I started traveling more and more. And then in 2017, went 100% freelance as a travel and environmental journalist. Also, still freelance, covering weather and doing a lot of different other things in television. But yeah, so you got the traveling part, you got the weather part. Why not combine it into the traveling weather chick?
Well, it works for you, I got to say. I assume that the weather part came first, your interest in weather, your career in weather.
It did. I think I've always had a love of travel to start with, but yeah, as far as professionally, I dove right in. I knew very, very young, basically about age 6, that I wanted to go into television. There was a fabulous woman. She's still on TV, Jane Pauley, who was
Sure.
hosting the Today Show at the time, and I wanted to be her. I actually thought I wanted to go into the news anchor side of it. And then shortly after graduating from the University of South Carolina, I was offered a weather job in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And my dad gave me great advice. He said, if you're going to take that job, you need to have them send you back to school. And I went on and actually earned a second degree, and so continued to do weather for many, many years full time. And I honestly think it's my love of weather that makes me kind of that curious traveler, because there are so many unknowns and so many variables with weather, and you're always asking questions about it. And it just really helps me to kind of be that inquisitive person, especially when I'm traveling, whether it's in the United States or around the world.
So when did you and how did you start to incorporate travel into your platform, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, so I was working in San Antonio. I was one of the first female chief meteorologists for a local affiliate in the country. And it was during that time, and this was 2000 to 2010, that I was realizing I am truly working to travel. I would much rather have an extra week of vacation than I would extra money. And that's how much I love going and exploring, and adventuring and doing things in the outdoors. And so with that, I started a little blog, and started just kind of tossing in my hat and seeing what happens. And then when I moved to Colorado in 2010, I had a unique experience to be able to be doing weather during the mornings, 5 days a week, but then also was able to launch my own, what I would kind of call my first travel type segment. And it was called Explore Colorado. So I would go on weekends, I would shoot it all, and then edit it and had this weekly segment, and then would also do multiple 30-minute specials per year. And that just kind of parlayed into an opportunity to start writing more. So my first degree is that journalism degree. And I had that opportunity with AAA Colorado, to really combine some of the things that I love, which was the writing and the weather and wildlife and outdoors and adventure, and then just kind of snowballed from there.
So I know you have a goal of 50 states.
I've checked that one. I've checked that
You
one. I've
checked
got all
that
50.
one. And what about your countries?
I'm at 47 countries, and you look, the reality is I'd love to make it to all the countries, and who knows, maybe I will one day. But my biggest challenge right now, I do want to get to all seven continents. I'm working on that. I will be hopefully heading to Africa this year for the first time, and visiting a new continent for me. But I also am trying to go to all of the National Park Service sites. That is beyond just the 63 national parks. They are part of it, 425 National Park Service sites and counting, because there are more being added. Luckily, like Camp Hale was one that was added. Well, I have actually been to Camp Hale multiple times here in Colorado. So, but it's a moving goal. And I'm glad that they are adding more, because I think these places need to be protected, and giving all of us access to learn the history, to really enjoy those various stunning landscapes and whatever they may be. Learn more about people that you may have read one or two lines or a paragraph or a page in your history book in school, but to really see, where these people, prominent figures, where they grew up, where they lived, how they impacted, our country and society, and then of course to enjoy those just phenomenal landscapes that we have. I am a huge proponent of traveling first in the United States. Travel here, enjoy what we do and what we have in this country, because we have such a variety. We have so many cultures, so many vastly different landscapes. And then from there, then go explore the world. I think so many of us don't think how fabulous our own backyards are, and they really are.
No, I totally agree. Well, then let me ask you, of the 50 states, because you've hit them all, was there any particular city or area that kind of surprised you? Not that you had a bad idea about it, but just kind of something unique surprised you.
Yeah, I feel like I'm constantly being surprised, but I think when you're thinking about for travel destinations, what are some of those underrated places? One of those would be New Mexico. I think it's and Nebraska. Those are my top two as far as states that I think are very underrated travel destinations, partly because both are very affordable destinations. I think people think like with New Mexico, you think, oh, it's just all desert. And you may think, well, there's Albuquerque, Santa Fe, and Taos, and that's it. And all three of those are fabulous, but there is so much more to that state. And the fact of that, especially in the northern sections of the state, there is so much ancient history. So if that interests you, I'd highly suggest going to Chaco Cultural National Historic Park. That is in the northwest corner of the state. It's just phenomenal. It's kind of a great starting point to go there and go on a ranger led tour and go through this amazing pueblo and just hear the stories of how that ancient civilization started and how everything went from there throughout what is now the Southwest US. There's also great food. I mean, the reality is, and you incredible food there. You get into a state like Nebraska, and I think so many folks think, oh, it's just a drive-through state. There's nothing to do in Nebraska. You're going to be very surprised. There are so many different things. The Niobrara River, it is the second quiet trail in the world, and the first one in North America, and we can go kayak on there. And what that means is that it's an organization, or a global organization has come in, and you can go, and it's the quietness of this trail that you don't hear cars going by, and you don't hear industrial life going on. It's a very, very special place and super easy. It's there in Valentine, Nebraska. And when you get into the western sections of Nebraska, Scotts Bluff, a national monument, is a super cool one. Chimney Rock is an iconic spot for the pioneers going across when they were going across, moving west, because it is such a remarkable, very distinct natural landmark. And then I also feel like in Nebraska, as you get into the spring, one of the world's last greatest animal migrations happens every spring in Nebraska, and it is along the Central Platte River Valley, and it is the sandhill cranes. 80% of the world's population of sandhill cranes converges
Wow.
on that part of Nebraska annually. And what they're doing is they're feasting and resting before they continue to their summer breeding grounds up in Canada and up into Alaska. And they just need that time to basically kind of fatten up for the rest of the journey. It's just such a really cool thing to see. And they go there because of the waste grain that's left in the empty fields that have, from the fall harvest going through the winter, it's still there. And the Platte River has has these sandbars and shallow water. So it's a very protective spot for them. So that's a super unique spot. As far as cities, Tucson, Arizona. 100%. I mean, I've gone two Decembers in a row, partly because of it was the first city in the United States that was designated as a UNESCO City of Gastronomy. There's only two. It's Tucson and San Antonio. And so the food scene is so incredible, but it is more than that. They have Saguaro National Park in town. There's two different units, and there's the east side and the west side. So you can go see the saguaro, which is the huge cactus, that iconic symbol of the American Southwest. And it's to be able to do that, quick, easy access for that. There is Biosphere 2, which you remember back in the 90s, there were some people that went in there trying to see, could they survive in this biosphere? It is still a living laboratory. They're still doing all kinds of research there. And if you're wondering what Biosphere 1 is, it is Earth. And so it's this controlled environment. And it's like, ooh, I'm kind of a part of walking through on a self-guided tour of a giant science experiment in that living laboratory. There's even like they replicate the ocean in there in one area, the rainforest, and it's just so cool to experience that biosphere. It is also one of the best places in the world for stargazing. I got to go up Mount Lemmon and do one of their star parties, and to be able to see Saturn, to look through one of those giant telescopes, and then with Sauraro, it is the world's 9th urban dark sky place, and only the 2nd National Park Service unit to get that designation. So if you want to go get some incredible stargazing, that's a fabulous place to do it. And it's such a unique, different area, and it's the cross, the blend and the cross cultures that are there. That just, it's lovely. It's so fun and a lot of things, and it's affordable. I'm also a huge proponent of things that are approachable. Yes, we all love luxury travel. Hey, look, getting pampered is fabulous, but the reality is, it's like you need to be able to afford to go and stay. And all 3 of those, the 2 states and also Tucson are very affordable destinations that families can actually go to, and everyone in the family is going to find something fun to do.
So when you travel, are you a strict planner? Are you go on a whimsy? I know you're going to pick your destination, but once you're there, is it a whimsy or is it a combination of both?
It truly ends up being a combination of both for me. It really does depend on, am I going on assignment for an outlet? And what are the reasons that I'm traveling for? People always ask me, do you ever go on a vacation? I'm like, well, that vacation usually turns into something in some form or fashion where I'm sharing it, being in a television segment, say when I'm doing something on the Weather Channel or for the multiple TV stations that I do travel segments for, or I'm sharing it in a AAA article, or another outlet that I might be writing for. It's. I wish I could say one way or the other, but it truly is a combination. However, I will tell you, even if I am planned out on an itinerary and kind of I'm going here, I'm going there, I always make sure that I have in there added time that is designated as kind of a free time, or really block in some time into an itinerary, because and on road trips especially, because you may find somewhere that you just absolutely love, that you thought, and it's happened to me multiple times, where I think, oh, I'm only going to need an hour there. And then it's so incredibly fascinating, and I'm learning so much that I'm willing to stay an extra hour, or whatever the case may be, to really dive into the subject matter and absorb everything that's put in front of me, of that ability to read and to learn, and to just be that curious traveler. And I think it's important to be a curious traveler, to be a traveler and not a tourist. And realize, as a traveler, you're there absorbing, and you're learning, and you're open to hearing other people's stories, and learning about different cultures and destinations and people's lives. And it makes, honestly, for me, a much more enjoyable experience than being just a tourist, which is just coming in and, hey, where is my, where's my beer? Where's my margarita? And hey, that's okay too. Going for your resort stays or whatnot, but spending a little time interacting with the people who are serving you your drinks and food, and your guides, especially, even when I'm on an excursion with a guide, I'll even ask, hey, what's your favorite place in town to go to breakfast? What's your favorite coffee shop? What's your, ask them questions. That's what, and I do the same with rangers when I'm in, in national parks, and just when I'm sitting at a restaurant too. And you find so many other interesting things to do. And that's why I think leaving that little extra time for, oh, wait, yeah, that person suggested go here and it sounds really cool. So I want to make sure that I have a little bit of time in each destination to do something that I didn't have on my list.
Okay, so when I met you in Rosemont, Chicago, a couple weeks ago at the Travel and Adventure Show. You were there on assignment. What did you do outside of work?
Well, there in Chicago, I was there just actually was going to two National Park Service sites, but Mother Nature had other plans. So there was, of course, the big Arctic blast and the big snow that happened there. So that derailed my Chicago plans. I have to go back. I was, woe is me. I have to go back to Chicago. You're one of the best cities for food in the country. Yeah, but I originally was going to go check off two of the National Park Service sites that are right in town in Chicago. And I think that's one thing too about, the this goal that I have. And I am over 200 National
Hmm,
Park Service sites. And, and so when you go and just seeing what's available, like a lot of folks don't know, say, for example, New York, there are 12 National Park Service sites in New York Harbor. And there's so many fascinating history lessons, in a city that people think of, you think Broadway, you think,
right.
going to see the Rockettes, you think food, you think the different neighborhoods and the New York, boroughs, the different communities, but there's also tremendous history there, that I think sometimes folks forget how much history is there, and not just recent, being within the past 20 to 30 years, but the history of how this country started. There's a tremendous amount of that in that city too.
Well, when I mentioned the Travel and Adventure Show, I have to tell you, I loved your presentation on solo travel. But then when
Mm-hmm.
I was following you, I saw that, you've gone to multiple events from the same company. And
Yeah.
it seems like each of your presentations is about something different.
Yes, I do speak on a variety of topics. Yeah, I mean, especially being a meteorologist as well. I mean, I could also speak on weather too, and I do, and I have, speak on things of, well, what happens when disaster strikes, because the reality is things happen. Natural disasters happen, and they happen all over the world. And there are steps that you need to take. There are steps as a solo traveler. I mean, the majority of my travel is solo. And while I love going and having somebody go with me, or going with several friends, I also relish in the solo travel. And I kind of got to the point when I went 100% freelance in 2017. I just said, if I'm going to wait for somebody to travel with me, I'm never going to go.
Good
And I think a
point.
lot of folks, yeah, I think a lot of folks kind of find themselves in that same scenario. And it's okay. I mean, if you are in a couple and your partner doesn't want to go do something, but you do, then go ahead and then give that partner the same option to go do something that they want to too. So I think it's also healthy in relationships to take that time, if you don't want to do something together, to do some stuff apart. But yeah, I mean, I do solo travel, I do outdoors. I mean, it is. I am speaking on national parks, so at three of the shows, with that being Denver, New York, and Phoenix, with a travel and adventure show. So those presentations will be similar, but they are catered to each of those different markets, because each market is different.
No, but I think that's great because then it's not like you're going to each of these places and giving the same formulaic speech. You're giving different things. And, like you said, there are different audiences in each of the cities. I know that the Chicago audience loved your presentation. I was there. I mean, I saw it. I saw the applause and all the people coming up to you afterwards. It was a great presentation. It was one of the best ones there, actually, I thought.
Oh, I really appreciate that, and I do spend a lot of time on it, because I am, I mean, obviously being with a television background and a television weather background, I am very focused on making sure that the information is given in easy to understand lingo, and also providing the graphics for it, and the videos for it. And yeah, a lot of folks don't realize that, like when I'm doing those presentations and I'm rolling a video, or if I'm doing, say a segment on the Weather Channel, I've actually shot that video, for the most part, not always, but more often than not, it's my video that's rolling, because I've truly experienced it. So I'm constantly going as a journalist. I'm a writer, I'm a photographer, I'm a videographer, and just really trying to share these wonderful places that I've had opportunities, and to hopefully share some places that people haven't necessarily thought about, or thought and then just kind of said, oh, well, uh, you know, I want to go do this. For example, I do think like in the national parks, so many people want to go to a national park like Zion National Park. And by all means, if you've never been, go experience Zion Canyon, but be prepared. It is going to be crowded. Give yourself extra time to get into the canyon. It's just it's going to be busy. But a lot of folks don't also realize that within Zion National Park, there are other areas to go visit. I will tell you, the east side of the national park of Zion is where I have seen the most wildlife. And where you have a better opportunity and you don't have quite as many people there that are stopping on the east side. But there's also on the west side, there is Kolob Terrace, a phenomenal scenic drive. There are little pull-offs and hikes that you can jump on, that you can do. If you just want to do, say, a 2 or a 3 out and back, 2 or 3 mile out and back hike, you can easily do that. You can do longer if you want. When my friend Lisa and I did that, we only saw, gosh, maybe 4 or 5 other people.
Oh.
And most of those were long distance hikers. They weren't just the day like we were. They weren't just the day hikers. These were the people that were, doing multi-day long distance hiking. And then another area which does have a fabulous day hike, it's Kolob Canyon, and not too far from St. George, and Highway 15, Interstate 15. But there, it's the Taylor Creek Trail. There's also in Kolob Canyon an incredibly beautiful scenic drive. But the Taylor Creek Trail, you are traversing the creek like 50 times. We started counting,
oh, cool.
And it was like, how many times are we, jumping back and forth over this creek? There's an old homestead in there. There's you get back into where the canyon ends, and it's a double alcove. So it's kind of like, it looks like arches, of course, but it's the alcove. So you still have the back part of it, but it's a double, and you don't typically see that. And it's just beautiful. So I kind of feel like, sometimes there's when you're looking at destinations and things, it's also too, especially at national parks, what are some of the areas, and always ask. That's why rangers and things are wealths of knowledge. If you ask them, where they like to go.
Well, and you're a wealth of knowledge too, as as your title, travel expert, et cetera, indicates. And this has been fascinating. I mean, seriously, like I could talk to you about each of these topics for the next 3 hours. I know you got things to do. Before I let you go, tell everybody about your site, where they could find out more information, whatever you'd like.
Sure. I think the easiest is just to tell you to go to my website. It is sweptawaytoday.com. I mean, you get it. My last name's Broome. Sweet, swept
I like
away.
it. I caught it.
Gotta play. Hey, you gotta play what you have and what works for you. So the website sweptawaytoday.com. You can also follow me, say, on Instagram and TikTok and Threads and multiple others. My Instagram and TikTok and Threads is at Jennifer Broome Travel.
Fascinating. Really, I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. When I heard your presentation at the Travel and Adventure Show, I said, I really hope I can talk to this woman. And afterwards, when I approached you, you were so approachable, to be redundant. You were so approachable. We set this up very quickly. You've been extremely generous with your time and your information. I really appreciate it. And I have checked out your website. I love your website, and I encourage everyone to check it out. And with that, I hope you have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.